Welcome to Unity Inspired Living. Our community began in 1989 as a small worldwide Unity book study group, and we've continued the momentum as an ever-evolving spiritual community. Each Sunday, you will find dynamic thought leaders delivering inspiring messages and talented musicians sharing sound healing through their melody. Here, we embrace ancient spiritual traditions, universal truths, and emerging wisdom. Let's check out this Sunday message. We're so grateful you've joined us.
And now I would like to invite you to prepare yourself to enjoy and be opened and awakened by Amy Van Linge. Radical mysticism? Did I make that up?
Yes, that's okay.
Something like that. Radical mysticism. What? Natural mystic. Oh, radical mysticism, natural mystic. Not quite the same, but almost.
Fine. Test. Am I on? Yay! Radical mysticism's good. We can go with that too. Hi, soul family. You know, we have our family of origin, our blood family, but then the coolest part of life is our soul family, because those are, out of all the 8 billion people on the planet, we interact with just really few over our lifetime, and they are part of in our grid of life, our soul people. There's no accident that we come across one another. So thank you for being part of my soul family. I'm grateful to be here. Oh, when I was a little girl, I was probably between the ages of 6 and 8, somewhere there. I was on the beach in Mexico, Rosarito Beach, Mexico, and I encountered a woman with a long gray braid and very wrinkled hands, and she was holding in front of her a tray of hand-woven bracelets that I was touching. I really just wanted to touch her hands, but I didn't think it was appropriate. So, to this day, my memory is really just of the two of us on this beach, but logically, I know there were many other people, and probably my parents, not too far away, but they're not in my memory. So I was touching the bracelets when suddenly she began speaking to me in Spanish, and I didn't understand Spanish. But as the words fell out of her mouth, I suddenly had this experience where I merged with her consciousness, is the only way I can explain it now. At the time, I really had no words to describe what happened. And I went almost within her, and I heard her words in English. And it was brief, really brief, but it was so profound and had such an impact on me. I didn't have any understanding of what it meant. I just knew that I felt it in my soul very deeply. And I never forgot her or what she said to me. And all she said was, "You're an old soul with a message." It's kind of not really that flowery, but it really touched my heart. So historically, mystics have been found in various spiritual traditions worldwide for really all of humanity. You might hear of Sufis in Islam, and Kabbalists in Judaism, Christian mystics like St. John of the Cross. We hear of so much in the U.S., Hindu sages like Ramakrishna. Yet I don't feel that mystical experiences are just for sacred, selected few. I feel it's for all of you, for all of us. We are sacred and selected. Now, I believe that we all have a predisposition, if you will. We're encoded. I like to think of it that way. We're encoded to experience the mystical. It's how we come in. Hardwired is what I feel. Hardwired to plug into the grid of God, I guess we could say. So I believe we do have the capacity, the capability, and the probability to be mystics, each and every one of us. So as we migrate the mystical, which is our theme for the month, I'm going to begin with, what is mysticism? So like many, I describe mysticism as an experience, as Pat was sharing, of direct personal divine union. That's what I would call it, divine union, an ultimate sense of reality where individuality, our personal identity, that little I we talk about, is transcended. That's just not part of this experience. A mystic then is being with the deeper understanding and the interconnectedness with divinity and a state of consciousness beyond just ordinary perception. Mysticism has nothing to do with traditional religion or dogmatic frameworks. It's a way of being in and with all the experiences of our life, that direct experience with the infinite. So we can imagine Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, or a Christian monk in deep prayer in a monastery or something like that. And Mother Teresa, I'm pretty sure, did call it divine union. Hindu yogis might say moksha, liberation from the cycle of existence, that you don't have to keep coming and doing this. So this altered, you might call it altered, or extraordinary state of consciousness can include visions, trances, unexplainable rapture type experiences. This state brings profound peace, a sense of peace, maybe even sensation in the body, a real intuitive grasp of what the holy is, a vivid aliveness, an awareness, a complete and total interconnectedness in this space. And we can participate in and have this type of mystical experience on our journey, because what we seek is already within us. What we seek is seeking us, so it's already there. This is the timeless wisdom that we talk so much about here. So the title of my talk is The Natural Mystic, because Bob Marley wrote a song titled Natural Mystic. And the lyrics are, "There's a natural mystic blowing through the air, and if you listen carefully, you will hear." And I always felt this song, the essence of it was a call to unity, a call to a deep awakening and an awareness of that ever-present, never-absent divine force that is holy, that is sacred, that is ours. Love. So the encouragement of this song is to become a natural mystic, embracing the wonder and the reverence and just the mystery of our existence, to become one with what is blowing through the air, that life that breathes us. So I take a walk every day. My goal is to walk 10,000 steps a day. And in May, I was having an especially heavy, sorrowful week, so I was walking about 18,000 to 20,000 steps a day that week. And I remember it was the day after Mother's Day, and I walk at night, and it started to rain. Greenville is very green and because of the rain. It began to then do what it does after it rains there, it pours, and then there's this other step that it takes, and it's like this ferocious release of the water from the clouds that happens in the south. And that started to happen. And I was just totally drenched in this torrential downpour, but I wasn't cold or wet. Something started to happen. It was like the road in front of me began to open up, and it was hardly visible. It was like a vision, but it was like a moving escalator type of psychedelic experience in a way. And then there was this sensation in my body, kind of, maybe a trance, you could call it. But I felt at one with the rain, the road, everything. It was like it all merged. And time just kind of disappeared, and I can't really explain what that was. I just know it was a mystical moment. And I had a sensation of leaving the ground, but this dream I had a dream consistently for a couple of months after my husband Mitch's death 9 months ago. And I had forgotten about it, but it came back in this moment. It was like almost like a chant, if you think of, chants we listen to, and it was just saying, the message, the message, the message. And soon I ended up home. So through my lens, migrating the mystical path is about unlayering egoic constructs that we pick up, conditions, the programs, the belief systems we talked about last month. And then in that space of sort of shedding that, we can discover the miracles. We can be in the mystery. We can have that divine union right here, right now, in every moment. And once upon a time, I think this mystical experience was really thought for that elite group I mentioned. And I think in these contemporary times, because we have such an expansion in consciousness and the souls that have incarnated at this time, you, and what we're encoded with, I think it's the groundwork. It creates the space for us to really be a modern day mystic if we choose, or at the very least, experience mystical moments regularly. Because I think what Pat was saying, it leads to, and that profound mystical moment can lead to a different awareness, a different expansion, a different way of seeing life, and that's a gift. So we talk about frequency and vibration in our circles here a lot, and our state of consciousness, how we live, what we think, creates a particular vibrational field. And our vibrational field determines the timeline that we experience, that we're living here and now in this incarnation. And I believe that what we can do is we can prepare our space, our life, to make way for these mystical moments, which will leave us in a high vibrational field. And so expecting and accepting miracles is part of this, embracing the mystery is part of this, and making a daily conscious choice to be in union with the divine source, God, whatever word resonates for you. So Albert Einstein said that there are two ways to live your life, and one is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. You've heard that one. And one way to live as a mystic is to consider that every single thing is a miracle. Every situation, every person. And this I equate to an abundance mentality when we view through that lens. So one of the most profound shifts on this mystical path is moving from a scarcity mindset or thinking to an abundance mindset, thinking, living. Scarcity thinking is just rooted in fear and limitation, and these are programs and constructs. And it's a place where there's never enough. We think there's never enough, whether it be money, love, health, resources, you name it. It covers all of it. Scarcity thinking is also a common collective limitation in our culture, in many cultures, that can keep us trapped in a cycle of this lack and limitation where people you might even hear argue for their limitations. Like, no, this is how it has to be because my whole family did it this way, or something like that. So viewing through the lens of abundance means that we are grounded in the understanding that not only is the universe infinitely abundant, but we are deserving of the abundance. That's the second piece. We know that it's infinitely abundant. Everything is out there, but sometimes our programs say, but I'm not deserving of it. So that's the piece. So we can claim that our life is always working out in our favor and that we are showered with miracles, and then we start to see them everywhere. The shift in perspective allows us to see the world through the lens of possibility, right? And gratitude. It also allows us to be gracious and forgiving. Be generous with forgiving. We can begin in that place to recognize the wealth of opportunities, the resources, the love that is available to us at all times. And then we can commit to the state because it feels so good. Forgiveness is a way we can heal deeply. So how might we cultivate this lens of everything's a miracle? Because sometimes we can really argue that that is not a miracle over there. We practice gratitude. So regularly acknowledging, we know this, we talk about this, but this is about the doing. We can know a lot of things up here, right? But it's like, how do I show up every single day? Am I in gratitude about everything? Am I focusing on what I have and not what I don't have? And this simple practice can truly transform our outlook. And also get into the habit of practicing gratitude when things are going wrong. Don't just focus on, I'm so grateful, I have my running water. We love all that, true. Recently, and I don't have the time to get into the long saga, but I lost all of my family's passports the day I was going to Mexico in the morning, and we couldn't get on our flight. And so even though I had tears and a lot of stress, the whole time I was saying, thank you, God, for bringing back the passports. Thank you, God, for bringing, it took 8 hours, and I didn't get on the flight that day. But so just remembering that even in the times of crisis and stress, to start going into gratitude. Affirm abundance. I am enough. I have enough. There's always enough. Keep what I call a gifts in kind list or journal. It's where you write down all the great things that happen to you, the great people that show up, the magic moments, and you just keep noticing that flow of abundance. When you notice, when you appreciate, it appreciates, right? So you keep getting more of what you're noticing. The universe is always providing. Do you affirm that? Do you say, yeah, I know that. Thank you, universe. Visualize your abundance. We get to tell our glory story or our sob story. Choose wisely, because you just get more of what you're energizing, right? We know this. So in your mind, ask yourself, what am I energizing? Am I actually visualizing the abundance in my life instead of worrying about what could happen, what I don't want? Go over here and start just imagining yourself prosperous, healthy, whatever you are wanting to see in your life. That raises your vibration, because we're talking about our frequency and our vibration here. Give generously. You can't take a damn thing with you when you leave this planet, except your soul. So think about that every single day. Giving from that place of abundance, give a few extra bucks on the tip. What's $2 going to do for be short your bank account? No, but this person might really appreciate it that day, That, be generous with forgiveness. That's a big one. Generosity creates flow in your life. It brings more abundance into your life. It keeps you in circulation. Because if you're not in circulation, you're just going to clog the flow of these miracles. So another crucial aspect of living a mystical life, migrating the mystical path, is embracing the mystery. I might also call this being present for the mystery or allowing the mystery. And so you might say, what the heck does this woo-woo mystery stuff mean? Embracing the mystery is trusting and surrendering to the higher power, God, source. This higher power means recognizing, when we trust in this, we recognize that there is a divine intelligence happening, unfolding in our lives, a presence that is never an absence, and surrendering to this power involves saying yes to life. Come what may, whatever is showing up. Accepting whatever is showing up. Trusting the unfoldment of whatever is showing up. Choosing surrender, letting go of our need to control every aspect of our existence, is part of migrating the mystical. This means moving out of victimhood, blame, or shame. It's about knowing the universe has your back, as Gabby Bernstein would say. I recently read a really inspiring book. It's called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. He's the Untethered Soul guy. He walks the reader through his experience of his life, which is phenomenal, that he just decided to surrender to, I think he called it life's flow. And his stories are absolutely unbelievable. It's like how things perfectly aligned up. Every time he thought, this is crazy, I don't want to do that, who's that person? And he just said yes to life's, surrender to life's flow. And it's an amazing story. Maybe we'll do a book group on that one. It's pretty phenomenal how everything was orchestrated in the most perfect way, down to all the small details. So what are some of the practical ways that we can be in this trust and surrendering? Because it's easy to say, oh, just trust and surrender, right? It's like, yeah, okay. So develop a spiritual practice. Hello, I'm preaching to the choir. That's why you're here. So you already know this. You all sitting here affirm this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You know that meditation, Pat went over this morning, prayer, contemplation, being in this state helps us cultivate trust because we open the channel. When we can get quiet and kind of remove the stuff that gets in our way, we open the channel and then we get a direct channel. And that's when we're able to say, oh, I know there's something higher than myself that's going on here. I don't have to know. I don't have to know the answers. And I can just be willing to be willing. And in that space, our spiritual practice is really important. I've told you before, if I didn't have such a strong spiritual practice and foundation, I don't know how I would walk some of the things that I've been shown up in my life. We can receive guidance and support fast when we open this space. So that's why our spiritual practice is so important. Release control and show up. Surrendering involves releasing the need to control the outcomes and then trusting that everything is unfolding for our highest good, even if it might not appear that way in the moment. So this doesn't mean being passive, though. I always like to say that. It means taking the inspired action while trusting, okay, I know there's a divine plan going on here. This means knowing that we can't change others. We know that, and so we just don't even go there. We can only work with this one, ourselves. We know ourselves best. And when things don't go the way we want, or the way we thought it should go, or the way life was going to look according to our plan, sometimes we want to bow out and say, well, then I'm not going to go there. But I say, show up anyway. Show up anyway, because life's giving you a gift. That's a gift in the moment. You might not know it, but it is. Cultivate faith is the third one. Faith is the foundation of trust and surrender. It's that unwavering belief that we're supported and guided. If you just know that, no matter what's going on in your life, the mystical path unfolds for you. Cultivating faith involves letting go of that doubt and the fear and embracing the certainty that we're always held, no matter what's going on. Listen to your intuition. Our intuition is the voice of our higher self, is the voice of God, that's our guide. That's our guide to guide us down this mystical path, our path of truth. So by tuning into that inner wisdom, what do we do when we tune into inner wisdom? We are totally aligned with spirit. We get totally aligned with spirit, and we become in the flow, as Michael Singer would say. We're in the flow of life. And just remember that intuition isn't logic. It's not that part of your thinking where it's very logical. It is that part that maybe we can't even identify how we know something or where did that come from. It's just that inner know. You just know it. That's your intuition. So 2 nights before the 4th of July celebration, a few days ago, I had a very disturbing dream. It was so upsetting that the next day it just rattled me the whole day. In my dream, I had been running around a pool, a familiar pool, my daughter's mother-in-law's pool, and I was running around it and looking for a child that had drowned in the pool. And couldn't find the child. And then suddenly in my dream, I spotted the child kind of tucked under this stair thing, and I dove in the pool, pulled out the child. He was limp, not breathing, and I was yelling in my dream, he's not breathing, he's not breathing. And I woke up, and I was shaken. It was so real. It was one of those dreams like, whoa. So I began to pray for my granddaughter, who's 2, because she's in the pool a lot this summer. Then I just began to pray, like, I don't know what this means. And then I went on with my day. 2 days later, we were at my daughter's house for the 4th of July, and it was about 9 o'clock, and the fireworks started. We were going to watch from the backyard, and then we realized the trees were in the way, so we're going to need to walk down to their community center. And so we walked down to the community center, and as soon as we arrived in the parking lot, it's where the pool is, where the fireworks were. There was a big commotion, and her sister-in-law came running back. A little boy just drowned. And so they were all upset, and with a lot of littles there. So they all walked home, and like a magnet, I was just pulled into the pool. And there was a little boy who was limp and not breathing, and fortunately there was a nurse there, a woman, and she was performing CPR on him. And I just began to pray, just began to pray over him. And then another EMT showed up, and they flipped him over, and I saw his face, and he was gone. And then soon enough, he started to choke and have a breath. And then they put him on the gurney to take him to the ambulance, and I knew his face. I knew his face from my dream. And I don't know what any of that means. There's no real clear understanding, but it was definitely a mystical moment. It was definitely a place I didn't feel there at the pool area. And then the police came around. They were trying to they thought somebody else had administered CPR, so I was able to tell them, no, it was the ladies over there. And so I don't know. I can't tell you, but it was profoundly impactful for me. Time really did stop in that moment. So living a mystical life involves conscious union with the divine. And this state of oneness, Christ consciousness, we might call it, merges us with that higher timeline that I talked about. In the realm of quantum science or metaphysics, timelines represent different potential realities that we can experience in this incarnation. So by aligning our thoughts, our actions, our emotions, how we live, with our highest potential with God in this union, we can shift our timeline, the timeline that we experience. And we can have a timeline of greater joy. We can experience greater abundance, fulfillment. And I would call that a mystical experience. So how do we create space for this union with the presence of God, to be in this oneness? I think first thing is we have to set clear intentions. We have to clearly define what we want our experience of life and what we want our experience, how we want to experience the presence of God. Sometimes, once in a while, just in meditation, or every single moment. Setting powerful intentions aligns us with that reality. So you have to know what you want your life to look like, so you can say no to anything else that doesn't align with it. Because if you're not clear, you're just kind of floating around. So we activate our highest selves when we set that intention in motion. I've always said, I will not waver. Another way is we raise our vibration. Our vibration we're talking about is the energy that we emit. And so cultivating these positive thoughts, one thing I want to be clear about with our emotion is that we're not trying to just get rid of negative emotions, Anger can really turn into power. So we want to recognize that emotions aren't a bad thing. It's just we hone it, we caress it, we can transmute everything. I say in my life, I have a mission to serve love, share love, and embody love, to hold the high watch, calibrate at a certain calibration all the time, at there or higher, and I will not abandon myself. I will not abandon my values or my soul for a temporary gain or for a moment of just wanting to be angry or something like that. I will not abandon that for anything. So we decide where we want our vibration to be, and then we choose to stay there. We choose wisely. It goes back to the glory story or the sob story. Take it to God is the third one I came up with. Take everything to God. Don't try to block, distract, dismiss, remove, stuff down, suppress your upsets or your joys. Sometimes people don't feel like they deserve the joy, the good things that show up, so they don't even want to celebrate that. Celebrate it all. Remember, everything that happens within you, sensation, feelings, upsets, joys, is your divine alarm clock saying, yay, celebrate, or okay, that's something to look at. It's all to be celebrated. Take it all to God. Get into the habit of continuously, about every single thing in your life that shows up, everything, start the inner dialogue with, hey, God, I might not see the higher possibility here, but I know you do. Or, hey, God, thanks, this is damn good. Sometimes we forget in those moments to say, awesome, universe, thank you. Fourth one, authenticity. It takes courage. It takes a lot of courage sometimes to live authentically, because there are parts of ourselves that aren't always pretty. They're not always easy to face. Yet, you must know this, that when you
face everything about yourself from that seat of authenticity, it becomes a higher frequency. That's how we transmute. You hear about transmuting, neutralizing, or alchemizing. That's how we do it, is from the seat of authenticity, saying, I see you, I see that part of me, and I'm not going to shame it, I'm not going to scold it, I'm not going to hurt it, I'm going to embrace it and love it and make space for it, because that's how you bring the dark to the light, and that's alchemy. Oh, sandwiches. When we allow all parts of ourselves, we raise ourselves into a higher vibration. So I'll close with another recent story, a mystical moment. And I believe our mystical moments are really born out of that conscious, constant, precious union with divinity, and setting that intention every single day that you're going to be supported, that you're going to be held, that you're going to be guided, the highest, the holiest, and that you're willing to listen. You're willing to be present. Because sometimes we get so busy, it's like, well, you might be missing all this stuff. So I fly a lot, I travel on the plane a lot, and I almost never watch a movie. I'm usually in Audible or writing or something. But on my flight home from Puerto Vallarta a few weeks ago, I felt, I decided to, actually, I didn't decide. It was decided for me. It was like, you know what I mean. I'm going to watch a movie. It's like, okay, well, first of all, how do I even pull the movies up? I figured it out. I'm scrolling. Not familiar with any actors, any movies. So I'm just scrolling through, and all of a sudden I see One Love, the story of Bob Marley. And that's easy because my mantra is choose love. So it's like, oh, that's easy. Thank you. So I start watching this movie. And it's a great movie. It's a great movie. And so it's about Bob Marley's story. And he was planning this concert for peace in his home country of Jamaica in 1976. And violence was dividing, destroying, the country. And he was determined, he was absolutely determined to make a difference, to leave a mark, to share the message of love. And so he wanted to put on this concert. Well, things heated up, there were death threats, and his house was shot up and everything. So he actually ended up leaving for a couple of years and going to London. The story is so inspiring. While he was in London, he built his career, his music career, and I believe that was based on his high level of consciousness. I mean, it just exploded. And then he was diagnosed with cancer. And then this moment in the movie where he was really in a dark place, like, what is going on here, like contemplative place, his wife said to him, sometimes the messenger has to become the message. And this moment in this movie I've never seen or even heard of before, it just gave me chills. I even started to cry. It was like, whoa, in some way, that was a message for me too. And in a movie that I wouldn't typically even watch, I love Bob Marley, but I'm not a movie watcher. So I just had chills. It helped me in that moment make sense of quite a few experiences I was even toiling with in that moment, that week. I couldn't have planned this. I could not have planned this. I could have not put all of that together. It's the oneness with the allness that knows in our lives there's no time or space. It's that merging with higher consciousness that we're doing things in that allness with the oneness with the allness that we don't even get to explain really. We're merging with the higher timelines. And the divine knows what movie, knows what flight, knows what phone call, knows what parking attendant, knows what doctor, knows what restaurant, knows what freeway you need to be on, Yeah. What time, who, how many, all of that. We don't need to know. We just get to trust. And that's the mystic path. That's the path of the mystic. And like myself, you might not actually consider yourself like master mystic. Yet, by the grace of God,
And by grace, I mean constant support, continuous almighty love, encouragement, sacred, ever-present power of God. We can migrate in the flow of this glorious life, whatever's showing up, anticipating, being present with, expecting nothing but miracles, multiplied and magnified, not just one or two, constant, and surrendering to and trusting life to breathe us, support us, live and move through us, provide all that we need. It's not woo-woo, mumbo-jumbo. When you trust it, it happens. And then we cultivate this conscious union with the divine daily choice to serve love, share love, embody love. And this is where infinite possibilities, magical moments, and all of those divine appointments never cease. They just keep coming and coming and coming. And that's how we migrate the mystical path. Thank you, beloveds.